While the world fixated on Lando Norris claiming the fastest time at 1 minute 34.669 seconds, something far more dangerous was unfolding in the Bahrain desert. Red Bull Racing didn't arrive at this test to chase lap times. They came to execute a calculated dismantling of Mercedes before the 2026 season even begins, and the most terrifying part isn't what happened on track. It's what's about to happen in the FIA boardroom. Toto Wolff walked into the media pen and admitted something no team principal ever wants to say publicly: Mercedes is in serious trouble. Not because their car is slow, but because the political ground beneath them is collapsing. For months, whispers circulated through the paddock about Mercedes finding a loophole in the engine compression ratios, a technical trick potentially worth 0.4 seconds per lap. The Silver Arrows arrived in Bahrain looking like championship contenders, carrying that secret advantage like a loaded weapon. But within 8 hours of track time, Red Bull had changed the entire game, and they didn't even need to top the timing sheets to do it. McLaren completed over 112 laps across the day, with zero drama, no extended garage sessions, no visible system failures. Oscar Piastri put in 54 laps during the morning session, then Norris added 58 more in the afternoon, while somehow still finding time to set the fastest lap of the day. From a pure operational standpoint, that's textbook execution. Any team beginning a title defense would gladly accept those numbers. But operational tidiness and competitive reality are two very different things. Max Verstappen spent the entire day in the cockpit and completed 136 laps, more than McLaren's combined total. That alone guaranteed Red Bull a broader, deeper database than anyone else on track. When analysts filtered Verstappen's runs to isolate genuine performance work rather than systems calibration, his lap time averages floated repeatedly to the top. On soft compounds, on mediums, on hards, the RB was producing long stretches in the high 1 minute 37 seconds and low 1 minute 38 seconds, with almost no outliers, no erratic swings, no volatility. There's a discipline to that kind of repeatability that screams readiness. The 2026 regulations have fundamentally rewritten how these cars generate speed. The electrical motor now provides 350 kilowatts of the total 750 kilowatt output, nearly half the car's total power. Every team on the grid is wrestling with the same engineering nightmare called clipping. That moment at the end of a straight where the battery dies and the car suddenly feels like it's hit an invisible wall. If you examine the GPS data from this test, Verstappen wasn't clipping. He was deploying full electrical power for 10 consecutive laps without backing off, without managing, without compromise. Multiple observers noted that the RB appeared able to continue deploying strongly at points where others were clearly tapering off. And Mercedes was struck by it enough that Toto Wolff effectively reset his entire public assessment of the competitive order. Wolff said they are able to deploy far more energy on the straights than everybody else, and he wasn't talking about a single flying lap. He emphasized, "I'm speaking a second per lap over consecutive laps. That's not praise wrapped in politeness, that's genuine alarm being expressed in real time." Now we arrive at the political nuclear weapon. For weeks, Ferrari, Audi, and Honda have been lobbying the FIA to close the compression ratio loophole that Mercedes allegedly exploited. They lacked the political weight to force action, but that dynamic shifted the moment Red Bull switched sides. Christian Horner and his team joined the Anti-Loophole Alliance, and suddenly Mercedes is facing a coalition with the combined political influence to rewrite the rules before Melbourne. Think about the strategic brilliance of this move. Red Bull has built a power unit that doesn't need the loophole to be competitive. In fact, their energy deployment data suggests they might already have the most efficient package on the grid, so by lobbying to close the loophole now, they're not protecting the sport's integrity. They're attempting to delete the one significant advantage Mercedes has left. The body language in the Mercedes garage told its own story. George Russell completed 56 laps in the morning, but the W17 looked like a handful throughout the session. The car was poorly balanced, locking up into turn 10, struggling for traction out of the slow-speed hairpins. When a team of Mercedes caliber is visibly wrestling with handling issues, while their customer team Williams is out there pounding out nearly 150 laps, it reveals something critical. The works team is pushing the absolute ragged edge of development because they're searching desperately for a plan B, knowing that the FIA meeting next week could render their current engine configuration illegal or at minimum severely handicapped. Kimi Antonelli lost most of his afternoon session to car issues and only managed 30 laps late in the day. Look at the contrast elsewhere on the grid. Aston Martin managed just 36 laps before Honda reported a data anomaly requiring investigation. Lance Stroll got a grand total of 39 laps across the entire day. Being a Honda Works team sounds impressive on paper, but when you're the only team running that power unit, there's zero safety net. Aston Martin is standing still, while Williams, the team that completely missed all of Barcelona testing, has already leapfrogged them in total mileage. James Vowles has transformed the atmosphere at Grove from embarrassment to genuine energy in the span of 8 hours. Then there's Audi, arriving with a massive upgrade package on day one featuring side pods that look like a refined, aggressive evolution of the 2022 Mercedes Zero Pod concept. In 2026, bodywork packaging is the primary tool for managing the massive cooling requirements of these high-voltage batteries. Audi's ability to package their car this tightly, this early, suggests their brand new power unit is running significantly cooler than expected. They're not here to learn the formula gradually. They're firing an opening shot at the midfield, announcing their intent to compete immediately. Ferrari offers another data point worth examining. Charles Leclerc ended the day half a second behind Norris and logged 80 laps in what most regarded as productive running. But visually, the SF26 looked busy mid-corner, responsive on entry yet not always settled at the apex. Lewis Hamilton, who had his own excursion at turn 10, pointed to the conditions but also acknowledged the sheer complexity of what drivers are now managing. He said the track's dirty, sandy and very windy, before adding that the systems are ridiculously complex and that at places like Barcelona, drivers had been lifting and coasting for hundreds of meters even on qualifying laps. Trackside at turn 10, Verstappen's driving technique revealed deliberate energy recovery optimization. He was frequently downshifting to first gear while still deep on the brakes, creating a spike in revs, slight instability on entry, forcing him to catch the rear on exit. It looked aggressive, sometimes messy, but it was entirely deliberate. The aim is straightforward: maximize energy recovery to feed the far more powerful 2026 MG UK. Other teams experimented with similar techniques, Audi most obviously, but the Red Bull looked the most settled in executing it consistently, looking rehearsed rather than reactive. Against this technical backdrop, Norris's headline time begins to sit differently in the competitive picture. Nobody is suggesting the lap was artificial or that McLaren isn't genuinely quick, but without the context of extended race-style running, it's impossible to know how transferable that pace becomes once energy management matters as much as raw attack. Rob Marshall predicted the field would likely be extremely tight, and he may prove accurate, but tight margins tend to reward the car that wastes the least energy, not necessarily the one producing the prettiest single qualifying simulation. The hierarchy everyone assumed after Barcelona testing has been thrown into the trash. We're witnessing a shift in the fundamental DNA of this sport where energy management has become the new aerodynamics, and political alliances carry as much weight as front-wing angles. Red Bull has achieved something remarkable. They've built a benchmark power unit in-house and are now weaponizing that technical superiority to politically dismantle their primary rival before the lights go out in Melbourne. When Toto Wolff says you're screwed if the rules change, he isn't talking about the whole grid. He's talking about himself, watching the 2026 title potentially slip away before the championship even begins. This isn't testing anymore. This is the first lap of the World Championship, and Red Bull just took the lead without even attempting a qualifying simulation. The real story of day one isn't Lando Norris topping the timing sheet. It's the realization that Red Bull is playing a completely different game than everyone else, operating on a level that combines technical excellence with ruthless political strategy. The paddock is a tinderbox right now, with the alliance of Ferrari, Audi, Honda, and Red Bull closing in on the Mercedes loophole, while Williams proves smart engineering beats raw budget, and Audi looks like they've been racing in this formula for a decade. So here's the uncomfortable question: is Red Bull's sudden concern for engine rule integrity a genuine move for sporting fairness, or is it the most calculated political assassination we've ever witnessed in Formula One history? And if Mercedes really is screwed, who becomes the primary challenger to the Verstappen dynasty? Drop your answer in the comments, and make sure you subscribe, because we're analyzing every single session of this testing period.